Yeah, you're very welcome to the latest Zoom call where we're checking in with various figures across the world of LGFA to keep us going during lockdown. And I'm very pleased to be joined by Stephen Glennon, who's a sports reporter with the Connacht Tribune out west and was manager of the Galway Ladies team in 2017-2018 and a member of the backroom team last year as Galway got to Croke Park for the TG Cahill All-Ireland Senior Final. Stephen, how's life with you?
Yeah, it's very good considering everything. Yeah, we're kept busy with the kids and schoolwork no more than most parents around the country, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, how are you finding all of this? Because we've two smallies now. Jack is 4 and Connor is 2. So they can be quite a handful. What's your situation there?
Not too bad. They're 7 and 8, and they pretty much entertain themselves, and they have their own little routines at this stage. And I suppose we go have our schoolwork in the morning, and then after that, it's nearly a free for all for the afternoon. Well, I try and get a bit of work done myself, but no, it's actually working out well. And we kind of have our own little routines. We actually started up, myself and Thomas started up Euro Championships of our own. So in the early days of this, we played 43 group games. We had to replay one. We had last 16.
I think you're after dipping out there, Steve. We might get you back. I think there was a little glitch off air as well, so we'll wait for you to come back in. You're back. I think you're back, Steve.
Yeah, yeah,
With a small little glitch in the matrix there. You were saying about the European Championships. They're going well, Stephen.
we're going well. Yeah, yeah. So we're down to the semi-final now. We played. There was 43 group games. We played our last 16 quarterfinals, first semi-final last night, and it's actually a lot of fun. And you'd be killed out afterwards. He's running rings around me. So hopefully, it'll give him memories that he'll savor and have for the rest of his life.
Absolutely. I mean, I know they're strange times, but they're times we won't forget, Stephen. It's in terms of the newspaper business, you're obviously heavily involved with the Connell Tribune. How have things been affected there? You're obviously, and we're going to touch on it in a little while in the conversation. You're having to find ways to generate new content all of the time, I'm sure.
Yeah. On the other side of it, you're getting to actually reach out to people once again, because I suppose when all the football games are going and all the hurling games are going and the season is in front of Craughwell, you're just reacting all the time by covering games. Whereas now you're reaching out and you're doing interviews with all sorts of sports people and characters and everything like that. We had John McDermott there a few weeks ago.
Oh,
People
what a
might know
man.
him hero of the year, and like a brilliant character. And it was great to do a piece with him. And like this morning, I was writing up, did an interview with Pete Finnerty yesterday evening. The
Brilliant.
great Pete from Galway, and it's great. I was telling him, remember back in 1987 or 88, I can't remember which one of those years, but I have a picture of myself sitting on his knee in Shine's pub in Athlone from the homecoming. So
Wow.
we were talking about that, yeah. So but it's great. Like I said, to reaching out and chatting people. I love that. I love that part of the job.
Like obviously I'm from Tipperary, you're from Roscommon originally, but living in Galway, and I suppose you'd have that draw for Galway now as well, Stephen.
I have, like, I spent over half my life has been spent in Galway, and very involved in Galway GA, be it hurling or football, ladies football, camogie. I've been involved in them all at this stage, and also my parents are Galway as well, so there's that background as well. But it's no, I love it here. As I said, it's a great county, a great sporting county. It's actually a paradise, because even though I'm not interested in horse racing, you have loads of horse racing, you have rugby, soccer. You couldn't ask for more. So it's nearly a little haven out here in the west. Yeah.
Brilliant. Stephen, it was a funny thing, and I often think back to it, especially when we're chatting. Um, Myself and yourself would have held dictaphones for many a year in front of people at various GAA matches at Croke Park and God knows where else. And in 2017, before I actually took on this job in ladies football, I was actually holding a dictaphone in front of you. You were the Galway Ladies Senior Football Manager. I thought it was a strange little
Yeah.
quirk the way the wheel can come full circle sometimes. Stephen, when you look back in that time in charge of Galway, how do you reflect on it now?
Loved it. Loved it. Absolutely. It's I've always said it on record, like the best team I've ever worked with, and I've worked with a good few down through the years. They're such a great bunch of women, great bunch of athletes, great bunch of players. I've so much respect for them, and it was just an exciting time as well, because I suppose there had been a little bit of a dip in the year or two before, and we got it back up again, and we won the Connacht final, and that was a huge day for us to reclaim it that day. And the following year, we had that win over Dublin in the league, and like even my wife still tells the story of driving up with the two kids to the game on their own, and she trying to explain to the kids now, don't be worried if we don't win today, because don't be upset because Dublin are very good and all this. And we just got the run that day. Like, it was some performance by the ladies. So you have all these little memories as well, and we probably should have won the league semi-final, that last minute goal.
Yeah.
But it was a great goal, in fairness, and Dublin were a great team. So I have wonderful memories out of it, and it made it easier. Even though I'd stepped down as manager after that campaign, it made it easier to go back in to the backroom staff, because I suppose maybe a lot of people might have seen it as, I don't know, a step down or something like that. I didn't. I just wanted to stay involved. I had other things going on in my life. I was doing the MA in writing, so that kind of took priority there. But I still wanted to stay in touch, and when Tim rang me, and I was delighted he rang me, it was easy to say yes to him. And Tim is a gentleman as well, and full backroom, Ciara, Noel was there, Mike Comer, all these people that are there, they're great people. So yeah.
So Steve, I remember in 2017 you won Connacht, and it was a long break, and you probably had one of your most disheartening days on the line when Cork let's say dished out a fairly comprehensive thumping to you guys. How do you, as a manager, how do you kind of bounce back from something like that? Because you obviously came back stronger, and obviously last year then competing in an All-Ireland final. There must have been a lot of learning from that day, Stephen, and the break was obviously a factor. But when you look back on it, how much did you learn, and how much did it shape you maybe going into 2018?
To be honest, I think the way it was going that year was that there was systems being put in place, and Mike Comer was a huge part of that, and Mike was laying the groundwork the whole time. And it takes a while for it to click. Now, when you come up against a team like Cork in full flow, they're really going to hurt you if you're not on point. And we weren't. There was a couple of things that went wrong. I remember, I think it was Megan Glynn hit the butt of the post in the first few minutes. Like, we owned the ball. If you look back in that game, we owned the ball.
Yeah. You're dropping again now, Steve. We'll wait for you to come back in. Seems to be a glitch every few minutes on your end, Stephen. But it won't take too long.
Honest thoughts about whatever the one.
Sorry, Steve, you're back. There was a little. We lost you again there for I'd say about 10 to 15 seconds, but you're back in. Yeah, you did start that game very well, Stephen. But obviously, then when Cork got on a run, it went from there.
Yeah, and they're a very hard team to stop. They know their roles so well, and I suppose we were trying to take learnings from that game afterwards to see what they did well and what we did poorly, while not trying to compromise the Galway way of football as well, because the girls like to kick ball as well, and we're just trying to, I suppose, put a system in place when no one went to kick and that sort of thing. But after that game, I was saying, we sent out the questionnaire to the girls, and the feedback that they were so honest and feedback and brutal as well. We came in for a bit of criticism myself as well, and that's all part of it. You have to take that in the chin, and from that start implementing, we tweaking it a little bit more. Mike was still doing what he wanted to do with the whole football side, but I suppose in terms of looking for commitment and where we wanted to go as ourselves as a team, it was very much formed by what was in that questionnaire. And I thought that was a hugely enlightening process for both players and management.
Yeah, nice exercise to do. I'm sure you learned, took an awful lot from it, Stephen. Bounced into 2018 then, and on to 2019, obviously, which was an exceptional year, and getting to Croke Park twice, as it turned out, for a semi-final against Mayo and then the final against Dublin, and playing in front of a combined 60 plus thousand, 66, 67,000 in total. Great memories there as well, Stephen. Look, it didn't end up the way you would have wanted it to for Galway. Shocking bad day weather-wise as well, but great year for Galway last year.
Yeah, it was. And, again, I suppose Tim came in, and Tim probably, to be honest, if I look back on it, I might have taken them as far. I don't know where I could maybe take that other extra few percent. When you're stuck in your own mindset, and you have your own way of doing. Tim came in and was able to say, well, I can actually do this a little bit better and add another few percent to it. And Tim is very good at that, at finding the fine margins, and he was able to do that last year. So I think it was in many respects, it was great that he came on and stayed on and stepped up to the play as manager because he was able to evolve the team. At the same time, you also had the girls who had the 2 years underneath their belt as well, with and doing all the things that he was trying to do with them. And that was, you began to see that kicking in as well, along with the strength and conditioning that had been brought in by Mike and Dylan and the crew there. So there was a lot. It was all beginning to come together, and like even this year, and just to move away from that, just for this year even, I was hugely encouraged by what I saw again, because there was new young players coming in, but the culture was so strong. Like you could call it a transition period because there was a few players had left, and it was difficult to keep the fluidity in the panel. But with this year, the structure and culture was so strong. They just absorbed them girls pretty quickly. And I know they conceded a few goals earlier in the league, but as the league went on, you could see that things were beginning to click, and it was really coming together, you know. So from that point of view, I suppose a little bit disappointing that the whole thing fell away. But I was really excited about where they were going to go this year, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and I've watched Galway underage teams over the last few years at various levels, winning All-Ireland title and contesting finals. Stephen, and I mentioned this to Annette Clark last week in a conversation that, you know, I think the good times are coming for Galway, and they're coming pretty quickly at senior level.
Yeah, and it's fine saying that, but again, the shoulder has to be kept at the wheel. Everybody has to keep pushing there.
It's not just going to happen, Stephen. Yeah, it's going to be hard work and that culture and that environment that you spoke about as well.
You have it, and you know yourself from even looking at men's teams as well. You know, look at Galway over the years, all this underage talent through. And it didn't, not until 2017 did it begin to take shape for that. And yeah, I just hope that everybody stays with it. The huge, like, we can talk about county boards and we can talk about managements and everything. It's the players themselves, the players that are there have to, and not so much the Tracy Leonards and all them, because they will drive it anyway. But the younger players coming in have to see this as a life choice, and that they have to stick with it for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever it takes to get it there. Because if they're going to come for a year and go again, you could be in trouble.
Stephen, are you still involved in some minor capacity off there in the background, or what's your connection with the team this year?
I suppose I went back to my first love, hurling, this year, and it kind of snowballed a little bit because I had the under nines here with Thomas as well, and then I was going helping out the Camogies, Lena's under 8, so I was helping out there, but got kind of pulled into the junior A hurlers here in the
Good man.
They were Roscommon under 20 hurlers. I don't know where that's going to end up now, because I say that could probably be one of the competitions that may go. And just after all that, I was called in to ask would I help out with the Galway under 16 hurlers. So I was, I'd only intended to do a little bit this year, and you get excited and you get carried away, and I suppose maybe the ego being massaged a little bit by getting asked to do these jobs as well. But I tell you something, Jackie, this whole lockdown and the way life has slowed down, it has really made me reflect as well that maybe you don't have to pour yourself altogether into so many different things. Like, and I think going forward, like, I really enjoying the time with the family. So next year, I think I'll narrow down the scope of what I'm doing in a sport, and I want to put aside a little bit more time for the family.
Small little break off there again, Stephen. We'll wait for you to come back in. I think it seems to be a pattern that every couple of minutes we seem to lose you, but you will come back, I'm sure. Yeah, you're back again. So you'll only take maybe 2 or 3 jobs next year rather than 6.
Like a PRO of the club as well. So
God.
I know it's great. It's great to be involved.
And Stephen, I wanted to obviously bring you on as well to talk about something that I'm sure is going to create plenty of talk and debate. I have the piece here in front of me. It was published a couple of weeks ago now, Stephen, so it's still live until this coming Thursday, I believe, and as we're chatting on a Tuesday afternoon here, so people still have some time to get their say and their speaking on this one. The chance to select the best Galway Ladies Football team of all time. So what's the response to this one been like in the Connacht Tribune?
Yeah, it's been good. It's good. I suppose, like, we've already ran the Camogie and the hurling. Now, the Camogie was a very strong response, and the hurling was just off the charts. Like, we're up at 7. My wife were up into the all hours of the morning collating that.
So are you taking in physical entries, Stephen? How do people enter, or what way does it work?
It's through email. So when they come in, then I just pop them into a folder, and once Thursday comes, then I start to go through them. So it's been good. It's probably not as strong as what the Camogie was, but I think a little bit of that too is maybe the Ladies Football Association is a younger association than Camogie as well. And Camogie, probably the Camogie teams over the years had more success on the field, and they've won more All-Stars. Like, that was one thing I noticed, that when we were going through this, there wasn't as many All-Stars for the ladies footballers, and I suppose that Mayo probably have a say in that as well, because they were so strong over the years as well. Just looking at, before I came on here, I looked down through some of the entries that come in, which I don't usually do, but I said I better see what's happening. But like, obviously 2004, the All-Ireland winning team of that era is featuring very strongly, and there seems to be a mixing in of the modern day All-Star players. So okay. It's shaping up.
So closing date is Thursday, this coming Thursday, Stephen.
1 o'clock, yeah. So Stephen Glennon at ctribune.ie will get me, and basically list them out 1 to 15. If you even go to my Twitter handle, you'll find the page there with all the teams that have won over the years or contested All-Ireland finals, because I think that was important as well. And there's been some great stories there. There's a team from the mid-80s that I was looking up, a junior team that reached an All-Ireland and had beaten Wexford in the semi-final. But the secretary of the county board was playing at wing back, I think, and had a team sheet in the sock and never handed it in. So they didn't get to contest the All-Ireland final.
No way.
Was the upshot of that.
Wow, some great stories emerging, I'm sure, and along the way as well. Stephen, once we go off the interview here, you'll pop me over a couple of links and we can add them in. So if people are watching this interview, you will have the opportunity to view the criteria for entry as well. And that email address again for people, Stephen. Yeah, it's
stephen.glennon@ctribune.ie.
Perfect. Stephen, I suppose, look, I'll finish up by I suppose where we started. How much are you and the family and everybody, I'm sure you move in a circle where sport is very, very strong and it's talked about an awful lot. How much are you missing football, camogie, hurling, ladies football at this point in time? It's tough, isn't it?
It is tough, and we are missing it, and especially the young fella, because it was hard. You're trying to pry him away from the television, and like, I remember coming down one morning there, and he was watching a Monaghan club football game on iPad. So that's how much he's into all this stuff. But it is hard, and being involved in the club, you can see the response to it all, that people are frustrated and all that sort of thing. But I think, Jackie, there's a larger issue here as well. I think, if it costs even one life, I think, we have to be careful. And I know people are bursting to get back, and teams are bursting to get back and everything like that. But I do think we have to be responsible in this as well. And there has to be an air of that responsibility that says, listen, when the time is right, we'll go back. It's, at the end of the day, we all love it. It's a passion for us all. But, I think human life, you can't put a price on that, really. And no matter if you're 21 or 91, it doesn't matter. You deserve the respect to see out your days in whatever way you can.
Yeah, well said, Stephen. Stephen, that's absolutely fantastic. It's been great catching up with you and chatting with you. So look, as I say, it's Stephen.Glennon@c for Connacht Tribune.ie for those entries for the best Galway team, ladies football. Of our generation, of our lifetime, Stephen. So there should be some hot debate on that, and we'll also post up a couple of links under this interview as well. But Stephen, for now, good catching up with you, and stay safe and stay well in regards to the family.
Same to yourself, Jackie. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Stephen.